It actually happened. I actually received $10,000 from the SBA through the EIDL grant program. Now, Paycheck Protection, we're not going to talk about that today because who knows what's going on there. Right now, we're focusing on the positives on the EIDL program. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some interesting math that I did on the EIDL program that makes me even more excited about this. I'm going to talk a little bit about my business and how I qualified, what allowed me to qualify for the full $10,000. Some concerns that I have with the EIDL program, and maybe some of you can actually help me figure out the answers to these. And I guess that's about it. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with the interesting math that I did on the EIDL program. What was really interesting to me is $10,000 just received in your bank is a lot different than $10,000 in revenue. Like if I booked a $10,000 job, that's not $10,000 in my pocket. You know, I have all these expenses that go into it. At the end of the day, you know, at the end of the year, I make 20% profit in a good year. So in order to get $10,000 in profit, that means that I have to do about $50,000 in gross revenue. But then I was thinking about it, and that's not even true because this $10,000 grant is tax-free, so it's even better. So if I have to pay, let's say, 30% tax, that's more like receiving $13,000 in gross profit, which comes out to $65,000 in gross revenue, which is just amazing. Like if I were to book a $65,000 job, my mind would be blown. So that makes me really excited to think about this math. And then we can get into the nuances even further than that and think, okay, that's a $10,000 straight profit, tax-free payment made without any logistics on my part, with none of my assets getting depreciated to do it. And who knows how to calculate that, but that makes it even more valuable. I had to put no energy or effort into this. And I just thought that was an interesting way to take a look at these payments. Even if you only received $1,000 because you have one employee, it's really worth a lot more than $1,000 in work if you think about it that way. And that makes me much more excited about this program. So let's talk a little bit about my business. I own a residential and commercial moving service. I purchased it back in 2015. Back then, I was 19 years old. It was doing about $5,000 a month in gross sales, and just wasn't in a good place. It wasn't profitable, you know, it just wasn't worth much. I basically purchased it for the price of 2 trucks. And then from there, over the next 15 months, I grew it by 1,400% and expanded into 4 locations across the country. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I expanded into Austin, Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, and San Diego. And then from there, through 2018 and early 2019, I ended up selling off my out-of-state locations, focusing all my energy on my in-state Arizona location that was the most profitable, and I wanted to do storage here. So at the beginning of 2020, February of 2020, I leased up a big warehouse. So now I was doing storage services both for my customers and for other moving companies through this service. And we have, you know, a well-oiled machine here, moving both commercially and residentially with a decently large crew of guys. In the summer, we average, you know, on any payroll, maybe 35 guys. During the winter, that's probably around 20 on payroll. So you could say, I guess, throughout the year, on average, was about 25 employees on any given payroll. This COVID disaster has really impacted us, especially on the storage end. We were slowly building it up. Obviously, I had an expensive lease payment, I still do, on this big warehouse. It was building up relatively quickly, and then this happened. No companies that we were working with were thinking forward, you know, we're thinking in the future anymore. They're all just thinking on survival. They didn't want to expand to, you know, do other things. Our customers aren't moving as much. In March, it wasn't nearly as bad because there was kind of this rush where people didn't know what was going on and people were moving up their move dates. And it wasn't quite as slow as April. In March, we were maybe 10% slower than the year before. In April, now we're looking at it's probably going to be between 30 and 40% slower than last year. That makes a huge difference on the bottom line, and any kind of lifeline would be a huge help right now. So that's why I'm really excited about this EIDL program, and I think I'm, you know, a perfect qualifier for something like this. I feel both fortunate and unfortunate. Fortunate that, you know, I'm in a situation where my business is still operating. Unfortunate that, you know, I'm part of this economy, but there's really nothing you can do except for just keep on moving and keep on working and trying to, make things happen. So I've been on top of this from the very start, and if you're, one of my existing followers, you know that I've been reporting every single day on these grant programs. If you've been following me through this entire journey, or you've seen multiple of my videos on YouTube, now would be the time to subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and it would mean a lot. So when I first applied, it was March 27th. This was before the Streamline portal was live that nearly everyone filled out. This initial application was torturous. It was like, it took me almost 3 hours to finish the whole thing, gather all the documents, understand what exactly was going on, print out the forms, fill them out. It was arduous, it was tough. So I filled that out and I was like, okay, I need it, I'm gonna make it happen. I know a lot of people looked at that and they were like, nah, I'm not doing it, it's not worth it. And then 3 days later, they came out with the Streamline portal and said, doesn't matter if you did the paper application, you gotta do the Streamline portal. So I was one of the first to apply the Streamline portal. I applied early Monday morning. I was application number 35,000 and some change. So I was one of the, very first people to do it now that there's, literally millions of people have applied. If you're curious as to what your application number was, it should start with like 2 digits, have some zeros, and then that'll be your application number. In my case, I believe it was 34, a bunch of zeros, and then 35,000 and some. So I applied, and then I waited and heard nothing from the SBA. And then eventually people were saying, well, if your credit is frozen, your application is going to get skipped, which I didn't necessarily believe because I applied with a business through an EIN number, not just through my Social Security number. Yes, I had to upload that. But if you get a business loan, your personal credit isn't always checked unless you need to personally guarantee it. So I didn't really believe that you would need to unfreeze your credit. My credit was frozen, so I just left it frozen because I was like, I don't think it's gonna happen. We'll just see if I end up getting it. Then at around March 8th was the first people that I had heard had applied and then actually received the EIDL grant money in their account. The only ones I had seen at that point were, a few $1,000 payments from select people, and they were saying their application numbers were around like 17,000. So I was like, okay, the next day or two I'll probably get a call or an email or something like that. Nothing. The 13th of March came around, and this is when nearly everyone who applied received an email from the SBA stating that they had my application. However, to ensure the greatest number of businesses receive funding, the grant would be limited to $1,000 per employee. It stated that the EIDL advance would be placed in my account after the application was submitted. But I was suspicious of this because the email felt like just a blanket email sent out to absolutely everyone just to keep people quiet. There was no action on that email, nothing like, there was no like log in and complete the process. It just felt like something that was sent like just to hush people for a few days. And we didn't hear anything after that. So I was like, I probably got skipped, or I'm not getting funding. Who knows? The $1,000 per employee didn't necessarily affect me because I put 20 employees on the actual application. And today is the 19th of March, and I happen to check my business bank account. I don't check it every single day. And on the 16th of March, I received a deposit for $10,000 with no communication from the SBA whatsoever besides that blanket email that they sent everyone and a confirmation number. I couldn't believe it. Just $10,000 in my account. I'll throw up a screenshot of it, but I didn't get a call, didn't get an email, didn't get a login. My credit didn't get checked. I didn't unfreeze my credit. Payment in my account. I'd heard of other people getting similar ghost payments, but I didn't really think I would actually get it. It just seemed like, a couple lucky few people, but $10,000 in the account. I'm still kind of shocked about it as I'm making this video. That's why I wanted to put it out as quickly as possible while I'm in this like elated mood. It feels like almost too good to be true. And that's what my natural inclination is, to be really suspicious of this, because when are things actually free, As you probably know, the EIDL application states that the advance can be only spent on a few select things, like rent, utilities, interest accrued before you applied, payroll, and increased expenses due to COVID, whether it's like supply chain. That part's not really well defined, but the fact that it's not well defined, increased expenses, makes me think that there might be some leeway to spend this on different things, because who's to say what counts as increased expenses? So I kind of like that wording, that gray area, but the lack of proof for this is really odd to me. Nowhere did I provide proof of number of employees for this. I didn't provide like quarterly 941 forms like you do for the Paycheck Protection Program. I didn't submit tax documents. I didn't submit anything proving payroll or total revenue. Nothing. It was all just based off of what I claimed on that application, you know, what I typed in and then just initial. What about all the people who just wrote 10 or more employees on their application, even though they don't have 10 or more employees? Or before it was clarified that contractors don't count on this. I know for the first few days, they were saying, it said number of jobs on the application. So people were putting in the number of contractors. That was my assumption when I filled it out. I don't have any contractors, so it didn't change anything. But if I did, I know people who have 20 plus contractors who would have just put in 20 there and then received that $10,000, even though they're not supposed to receive it for this. What happens to them? Are they ever going to have to provide proof? This is what's really weird to me, because when does this ever happen? There's no such thing as a free lunch, they say. I mean, maybe because of the sheer volume of applications, there's just no feasible way for them to check everyone, and they understand that, yeah, a few of them are going to slip through the cracks that were fraudulent, but what are we going to do? It's money in the economy. Maybe. That's not really how the government works, but I don't know, it just seems so strange. I'm personally kind of afraid to spend any amount of the money, because I'm just like waiting, like, okay, in 2 weeks, are they going to say, all right, you need this, this, and this, and it's not going to be worth it for me to take that $10,000. Maybe there's some kind of stipulation that you have to, you know, the SBA has to have a certain control over your business. So that's what I'm concerned about. You know, I'm kind of in this waiting game, like what's going to happen? It just doesn't seem, it's like I keep saying, it just seems too good to be true. There's no 8-week period on this like there is with the Paycheck Protection Program, where you need to spend it on X amount of things. You need to spend 75% on payroll or anything like that. It's just so open and free. It's very strange to me. Now, I know, like I said before, I've heard of many people receiving these ghost payments, and every single day, more and more people are telling me, hey, I received money in my account. No notification whatsoever. So if you're one of those people and you haven't let me know yet, let me know in the comments below, because I'm really curious to see how many of us are out there, especially how many of us have received the full $10,000. It seems pretty crazy to me with no notification whatsoever. I still think that more people will receive these funds, whether they be ghost funds or the SBA actually contacts you, because as of today, the SBA has only funded about 6% of the total businesses who have applied for the EIDL grant program. So there is more money still there that hasn't been sent out to the advances. So I think more and more of these will be rolled out, especially now that the application is closed. They're not getting, you know, millions more applications in every single day. If anyone has a good source of information or like proof of what needs to happen or how we need to prove where these funds are spent afterwards, like for instance, I know for the EIDL loan, beyond the advance amount, you need to keep record for 3 years of what exactly that loan was spent on, which makes sense. So if any of you know any more information on this, I'd be very curious to know. Until then, I'm really excited about this. I'm just gonna not spend it for now, just to wait and see what exactly happens, just to play it safe. But that's all I have for now. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy my content, and please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. It helps out the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, I hope you have a profitable day.